Go to the forecasting section and download these two files. Oops, that one, the target market potential scenario. And then also download the target market potential template. And this discussion or demonstration is very important because this template is something that you will be using in your BA 499. It's a major component of BA 499, which is business planning. And this has something to do with your accurate forecasting or representation of your forecast for your sales. This is the scenario that we are going to consider today and see how this scenario can be implemented within the template that is used in BA 427 business policy as well as in 499. Okay, so this is the template, and you'll see yellow cells as well as gray cells. The yellow cells are your input cells. These are where you enter your assumptions. And then the cells that are in blue, there are formulas there that will calculate items for you. So very first important thing to remember is that when you decide or declare the population size, that you have to consider, we talked about this in the forecasting, one of the elements of a good forecast. You have to express your forecast in meaningful units. Okay, so this means that when the word population is used here, it does not necessarily mean number of people. Eventually, it will mean what comprises your target market. So let's read the scenario. Adobe Valley Construction Company, located in Medford, but by the way, this company is a made-up one, located in Medford, Oregon, specializes in new home construction. Part of its strategic planning, the company is developing a business plan for the future. So this could be you, this could be your business. Part of the business plan is to develop an estimate or forecast of the size of the annual market for new home construction in Jackson County, where the company is operating. So here we're trying to estimate the demand or the size of the market, which we say is the size of the pie. Further, the company wants to estimate and develop a forecast of its annual share. So what part of that pie is your share? And we call this your target or your forecast. So to develop a target market potential, you need specific qualifying variables in product or service that you are selling or rendering. Okay, so your marketing class, you talk about segmentation of the market, like demographics, psychographics, and other relevant segmentation criteria. So here's the specific product that you're selling. You want to construct or to be in the construction business for new single-family homes for first-time young family with school-aged children. Okay, so when you develop a product or service, you have an idea of what are the characteristics of the customers you are targeting. And it's important to know that part because that will be used in segmenting your market. So generally speaking, this is what AVCC is considering. So here's their target population. We're talking about households, all right? Because this is a construction business. We want to talk about number of households that will be considered as your customer base. And in fact, we're limiting the area, the market area within the county, because maybe constructing in Roseburg or beyond Jackson County may not be financially feasible. So we talk about geographic reach of your business. And defined further as with young children in the age group of 25 to 45 and to earn between this annual income. Okay, now in developing your business plan, you will have chance to modify your criteria or even your definition of your target market, especially once you're done with entering all the pertinent information into that template. And then eventually at the bottom, you find that the number you have is either not feasible for the business, too small, or maybe too big. So there is room for modifying your definition of your target market. And we will see that as we complete this exercise. Okay, so here are questions for discussion. Number one, I think I've already answered this question. What is the population of interest? Or what is the meaningful unit? Or what is the customer here that you're talking about?
Number of households.
Number of households, good. What is the geographical reach of the business? And it's important too to define your geographical reach, because once you start researching data in terms of number of households, you want to limit that into a geographical area, whether it's by county, by state, or the entire US, or within a 5-mile radius. So you have to define this. How is it defined in this scenario?
Jackson County.
So the first one is households, okay? Number of households. And then with geographical reach, what was that?
Jackson County.
Good. Okay, now what are the relevant demographic information for the population of interest?
I feel like I'm answering every question, but
Yeah, go ahead. I mean,
um,
glad that at least someone is participating.
well, it's households with young children
Okay, households with young children.
between the ages of 25 to 45.
Okay, ages, what was that? 25 to 45.
Yeah, and who earn 60 to 100,000.
Household income of 60,000 to 100K. Okay, now this is something that is, not mentioned in the scenario. What other pertinent information or data would you need to, in addition to the demographic and segmentation criteria, that will allow you to complete this template?
Probably how many people are looking for?
How many are what?
Are looking for a new house?
Okay, let's just list that out. How many people or how many households?
Households.
Yeah, we need to be consistent there. How many households will build new homes this year? Because the TMP is expressed on an annual basis. And then what else? Ultimately, when you're looking at the TMP here, that you will have your market share in dollars per year. So you will be able to estimate the number of households or new homes that you will construct, and then you will multiply that by some number so that you can come up with a projected revenue from that target market. So what information would I need to, what was that?
Competitors?
What competitors? Did you say competitors?
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, you will need that number of competitors so that you can determine the share of the pie that you are targeting. Once you are able to find the number of households that will be built this year, we need to monetize that information. And how do we monetize that information?
Find that average price.
So average,
Area.
good. Average cost of new homes in the area, home construction in the area, and anything else. So what I'm trying to do here is we're just listing the, what we think would be important information to gather, to collect. Okay, now, so let's just focus on these three things. what source would you find, or how would you answer this question? What source will you use to find the number of households of new homes constructed in, say, Jackson County? Meaning you'll have to do a little bit of research. How will you find the answer to this question? What is the average cost of new home construction in the area? And how many competitors are there?
I mean, I would just Google, but that's probably,
Okay,
No.
let's see. Google. Yeah, exactly. I mean, make Google your friend. Google is my friend. Okay, so let's Google that. Let's start with the number of households. How many? Oh, let's start with the population of Jackson County. What is the population of Jackson County, Oregon? Okay, there you go. You have that information right away. All right, but we want to use more reliable sources. And one of the reliable sources that you will be using in your 499 is the Census Bureau statistics. So click on that link and you'll see this. Okay, different topics that you can find in this source: population, age and sex, race and origin, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to go deep into this. I'm just showing you that when you are needing information, the information is at your fingertips, literally, right? Okay. And then you can select the geographical area. You can either do by state, by county, by city, by town, or by zip code. You can parse the data in all sorts of ways that fits your needs. Okay, so what other questions do you say? How much is the average new home in, say, Jackson County, Oregon? Okay, there's a lot of information here. You can pick any one. So when you are putting information in this market segmentation, or in this target market projection worksheet, make sure that you have sources listed or identified for the assumptions that you are making. So let's say that based on our research, let's just put some contrived number here. Let's say that it's $300,000 is the average. Contrived, but for the business plan must be based on reliable source. So that, and kind of answers our question, the number 4. From what sources can you obtain the relevant demographic and segmentation criteria? So as Abby said, maybe Google first, but again, not everything on the web is the truth. So just because it comes from the internet, you shouldn't use it right away. So you still have to evaluate the source of your information. You can do US Census, you can do IBIS World. And all these things are covered in your other classes, especially the marketing class. And sometimes you do personal interviews of, say, experts in the field. So if you're, for example, if you're doing a bed and breakfast and you're trying to figure out the occupancy rate of bed and breakfast in Ashland, if there is no secondary data available, meaning published data available on that information, what you can do is you can interview managers or owners of bed and breakfast in Ashland, if that's your market area, and then get the information from them based on their experience. Okay, now here's what the requirement. Using the target market potential template from this link. So this is that's the Excel file, and the data provided below. Okay, develop a target market potential for the business, AVCC in particular. And then the data below can also be downloaded as an Excel file from this link. And then after you have developed the TMP, we will evaluate the reasonableness of the resulting market projection. So what I'm saying here is that once you have inputted all the information or the assumptions in this template, you still have to evaluate whether the final number that you are seeing here is either feasible Feasibility could include financial feasibility, feasibility in terms of do you have the capacity to do all the what's projected. So on the one side. On the other side, sometimes if you put too many criteria here, if you overstate your criteria, that could make your target market potential rather small, meaning too small. So your financial feasibility will not be there. So it is always good to evaluate. Once you have entered all your numbers, look at the final numbers and see if the numbers are reasonable or feasible. So let's start here. Here's the data, the set of data that kind of compiled. And, this is not comprehensive, but just enough that we can demonstrate the use of this template based on data. And the source of this is that website I showed earlier, the US Census. All right. So the population, maybe let's put here, our definition is number of households. Eventually, this will be our target market. How many households are there in Jackson County? Here's the information. Does this set of information provide you with the number of households in Jackson County?
No, it doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look like it, but we have enough information here that we can deduce that from. Namely, we know that the population of Jackson County is this. There's another information that says the average persons per household is 241. So based on these two pieces of information, we will define the population as number of households would be, let me, because this is the Word document, let me pull up the Excel so I can use that worksheet to do the calculations. So number of households is equal to, we will compute this as the population size divided by the average persons per household. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the number of households. That's the number we'll put here. 91,000. Let's just round this up to 274. Okay. Now, frequency. The frequency of purchase will depend upon the business that you're proposing. Okay. If this were a health exercise gym, maybe you're talking about number of members, and then the frequency of purchase per year might be 12, especially if they are doing monthly subscription. For new construction, maybe the frequency will be 1. Okay, meaning a household probably will, if they purchase this product or service, chances are they'll only do it once. Now, what are the relevant variables? So how did we define the relevant variables in the Word document?
The age and the income.
Age, income, and then with young children, right? Don't forget that initially that was the projection, or at least a definition of the target market by AVCC. All right, so start with households with young children, and this has to be expressed in percent. What is that in do we have that information in the scenario?
Yes.
Yes. Where is that?
The very bottom, right before household size.
Okay. That. All right. So we'll put that here. 28.7%. Okay. What other? Oops, that's a comma. 28.7. Okay. Any other relevant variable? Household income. Let's do that last because it's there will be a little bit of computation involved there. Age group. Say household age group. And what was the age group we were trying to target? 25 to 45. And the percentage there is that something we can pick up from the data right off the bat. Yep, we have that there, 11.5%. And then what other thing we need?
Well, actually, I think it's different because
Uh-huh.
that's 25 to 35. I think you might have to add.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. Correct. Plus that. Thank you for that correction. So that would be 22.9. Now, what you have to remember here is that every time you add a new criterion, the percentage, the size of the percentage will decrease. Because what this is saying is that you have 23% of 28%. So if you multiply these two numbers, then the percentage will shrink even further. So additionally, we'll add the third criterion, which is the income group. Household income. And this is from 60 to 100K. Okay. Now let's go back. Let me go to the Excel worksheet. You have the household income information, right? But where is the 60 to 100K? Well, that's in these two categories. It's not a good font. So if this were, if you say, I'm going to stick to my bottom line here, 60 to 100K, because maybe anybody earning 50,000 may not be able to afford. So note that 60,000 is between here, right? And then that range, the 50 to 75, is 17.30%, which is, it also covers 50 to 59. So the actual percentage will be 14.30 plus a fraction of that 17.3. So what would you do? You can do a prorated, number, meaning prorate the 17.30 using a formula. And this is something that you will probably not find in many textbooks, but you can also search the web, even YouTube, and ask, do a search on how to compute prorated class values. So here, what we can do is compute the percentage or the ratio of the difference between 75,000, that's the upper limit of that range, minus 60,000. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is going to compute the percent or the ratio of those 60,000 to 75,000 earners with respect to the class range, meaning the difference between 75,000 and the 50,000. Okay, so this says 60, meaning that 60% of from 60 to 75,000 represents 60% of this 17.30. So we will use this rate and multiply that by the share of that range. What does this mean? The 10.4, this means that 10.4 of this class range belong to the $60,000 to $75,000. So the sum of this and this will comprise the household income from 60,000 to 100,000. So what is that equal to? Let me add that, this plus this. So we'll say 24.68%. All right. So you see this number here? What is the interpretation of the 1,481?
About 6,000 households.
Oh, not 6,000. This is
Oh,
1,000.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000.
1,481 households meet these criteria. Okay. Okay, so far? I know this requires a little bit of, thinking. So that's the number of households in Jackson County that meet these three criteria. Now, we will find the number of part of these households who will have, newly, or who will be buying new homes or constructing new homes this year. But before we do that, we'll look at the number of competitions in your market. So through research, you find out who are the construction companies in this area that specialize in the same market segment. So I just say, hey, through my research, I've identified 5. Okay. In your business plan, you will identify these 5. They're your competitors. So you will, part of your business plan, also you will have a competitive analysis, which is something that we will not cover in this class. So for now, let's just say that through research backed by data, that you identified 5 competitors. So this would be, it means that if all of the 1,480 households comprise your target market, for this year, the total size of the market would be, your market share is 10, that you will have 148 households or new constructions for the year. And then priced at 300,000, the average construction. Here's your market share. 44,400,000.
That's ridiculous.
Huh?
It seems ridiculous.
Why did you say that? What is at this point, what is missing in this TMP such that, as Abby said, this number seems ridiculously high? That's true, because this also means that you will be constructing 148, your share of the market is 148 new homes. So this number is too high. Both of these 2 numbers are too high. So something must be missing in our relevant variables. What is that missing information? Go back to this number. What does this number represent at this point?
The number of households
That
that are in the market.
are in this group here, right?
Yeah.
Question, will all these households build new homes this year?
No.
No. Okay, so that tells us that this is a number that needs to be reduced further. So we will need to add another constraint or criterion that says percent of households that will build each year. Where will we get this information? How do we obtain that information from the data?
I mean, it has to do with the building permits, probably.
You're right, absolutely right. You know, you look at the number of building permits for the year, which is in 2020, there were 886. Okay, so 886 in relation to what? To this number here, 97,000, to 89,000, or to 93,000?
Probably total units.
Okay, if you say, yeah, let's look at it. If you say total units, will that include commercial? Will that include
Yeah,
include apartments?
maybe owner occupied.
Oh,
No.
owner occupied, that's right. Okay, so that is, let's express that as a percent. So that is the number that we will use in here. 0.9871%. Okay. All right, what does this number now represent? Number of households who have this, are belonging in these demographics and are likely to build, based on historical data, likely to build new homes. So about 15, right? About 15. That's based on our definition here, that's the size of the market. And if there are 5 competitors in the market, and you are going to take 10% of that market, the number of houses that you will build is 1.46, or about 2 homes per year. So if you build an average cost of 300,000 times 2 or times 146, this will be your projected sales forecast in dollar terms for the year. Is that reasonable? Is that feasible? What do you think?
Having worked with a couple contractors in the area, that sounds way more about right.
Yeah, so look at the maybe ask a contractor in the area, say, what is your reasonable number of new homes per year? And this seems to be a little low, right, Brittany?
Yeah, I worked with a couple really small ones that have about like 1.5 projects per year, probably.
Oh, really? Is that what they do? 1.5? So this is reasonable in your?
They're just starting out, maybe, and something
Okay.
they kind of like always come together. Like, I don't know, not really just exactly like one at a time. Also, so you have to.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, again, this is something that you have to, evaluate. If this were your business plan, you have to ask questions. Say, how does this compare to, what's realistic in the marketplace? Okay. Now let's say that this is maybe the number of competitors in the market probably is too small. 5 is not, maybe it's 10, for example, such that your number of new home construction per year is about 1. Okay. When the number that you have here is too small, what is it you can adjust? And adjust it not necessarily for tweaking, manipulating the data, but rather looking at, the realistic market that you are targeting. how would you revise your plan? Go back to this, here, your definition of your target market. As I said earlier, that the more criteria you include here, the more it limits your market. So maybe let's look at this with young children. Why limit your market with young children? You might have couples who are just starting and with no children, right? So can we maybe revise this and say, hey, you know what? We're targeting families, startup families. So how would we maybe adjust this to still be true to our definition of our target market?
Maybe change to the family households.
This one here? Or which one? Which?
Oh, the percent. So instead of with young children, change it to 64.4% of family households with more than one person.
With more than, so let's see, which one is that? Which number where were you picking that 4.4?
It's in cell B24.
Oh, B24, thank you. B24, oh, okay, 64. Yeah, you can use that. So just say family households. And now instead of just 29%, this would be 64%. Right? Now you have even 10 competitors in the market. You now have like 2 projects per year. Okay, so there's this exercise give you an idea in terms of how we connect, the forecasting chapter to developing sales forecasts for your business plan.
Sorry, what did you ask?
Abby, what was that?
I said, sorry, what did you ask?
I said, now I can't even remember what I said. I hope, this explanation sort of connects the forecasting topic to the business plan for sales forecast.
Yeah, it just shows me how precise you really need to be.
Exactly. Not only the precision, but also an important thing to remember is that any kind of assumption that you put in your business plan, it has to be backed by source. Okay, so here's the source that we're using. And it's good to explain your assumptions. Brittany?
I was just going to say it's been helpful. That's all.
Okay, good. Thank you. So any questions in this scenario? This is being recorded. So what I'm going to cut, because this is the first time I'm using this topic or this scenario, because we've just developed this target market potential template just recently. So this is probably one of the first demonstrations in using the template, connecting it to specific example. Any other questions? Okay, so if you don't have questions, then I'd like to reiterate that, there's 2 points here. The first one is you develop the target market potential, but you don't stop right here. You also have to go back and evaluate the resulting numbers for reasonableness. So you evaluate this, say, hey, my projection is that I can capture like 2 contracts per year, 2 constructions per year. So evaluate that. Is it a financial number that you can live with? Of course, this is the cost, right? And from this this is sorry, not the cost, but this is the revenue that you will get per project. this does not include the cost, your cost of construction. So if you were relying on this business as your source of income, is the bottom line sufficient to, or the net profit sufficient to live on? Okay, so that's where this reasonableness and feasibility assessment evaluation comes into play. Okay, or you also evaluate this against the capacity. Do you have the right size or the right resources to be able to do 2 or 10 or 100 projects per year? Okay, questions?